my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be my May 2025 reading wrap-up. I was very focused on manga and then also the Asian Readathon this month, which links will be down in the description for that so you can support the creator and then also get more details and information on it. But we also do have a couple of other books that don't necessarily fall into those two categories that I just said that we will also be talking about today. I will have the content warnings I can find linked down below in the description along with links to some resources, and let's go ahead and get into it. And we are going to start with volumes 20 and 21, and then also chapters 173 to 177 of Windbreaker by Satoru. And Windbreaker follows our main character who is only interested in the strong with no time for those that he considers to be weak. He is just enrolled at Furin High, which is a school that is filled with strong students who use their power to protect the town. However, our main character, he is not interested in any of this, of being the hero, of any of the camaraderie. He just wants to fight his way to the top of the school. I caught up to this series at the beginning of the month, and I do wish that there were like 100 more chapters of this series that I could be reading right now, but we did finish up what felt like the first major arc here, and we have been winding down from that and doing more cute slice of life stuff while also having an arc that let us get to know one of the characters more. I do have a full review of this series up on my channel if you want my more in-depth thoughts and just my thoughts on the series as a whole, but yeah, I have absolutely zero complaints about what I read from this series this month, and I just love this series so much. Next up, we have volume 2 of Boys from the Riot by Keito Gaku, and this follows our main character who knows that he is transgender, but he doesn't have anyone that he can tell, and the only times that he feels at ease are when he's wearing his favorite clothes. While out shopping one day, he runs into the new kid in his class who everyone thinks is a bully based on his appearance. Our main character doesn't expect to see him there and is surprised to find out that they actually do have the same taste in fashion, and together they start a journey that might finally give our main character a way that he can express himself. This was my first finished read of the Asian Readathon. I read it for the prompts: read a book by an Asian author that is a retelling or features LGBT+ characters, and also read a book by an Asian author that is international and or underrated. And I will say, I'm not sure that I love this volume as much as I love the first one, but I am still very much invested in this series. Things are getting more serious and more messy in terms of the actual content of the storyline, and I'm curious to see where it's all going to go. Next up, we have an audiobook, and that is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar Akkad. This book is this author's nonfiction debut, and the author is an immigrant who came to the West thinking that it promised freedom and justice for all, but has come to the conclusion that that is all a lie and that there are entire groups of people that were never intended to be treated as human, as he has reported on the War on Terror, Ferguson, climate change, BLM protests, the genocide in Gaza, and more for 20 years. I was drawn to this book because of the title. It's a thought that's just been kind of stuck in my head for a while now, and I just wanted to engage with it more, and this book allowed me to do that. And it also made me think back to when I read My First and Only Love by Sahar Khalifeh. They have a line in there that's something along the lines of, "These type of things always end, but in whose lifetime?" And that's a line that I was thinking about a lot while listening to this audiobook as well. But yeah, this was an incredibly interesting, engaging, and thought-provoking read. It felt like a really good nonfiction book just all around, and I've listened to a lot of really good nonfiction books, and this is definitely towards the top, which I feel like is something that I say a lot when I talk about nonfiction books, but it is true. And next we have another audiobook, which is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, and this takes place in a world where centuries have passed since robots have gained self-awareness, laid down their tools, and wandered into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Until a teen monk runs into a robot while traveling, and the robot cannot go back until the question, "What do people need?" is answered. I was super excited about like the cozy sci-fi-ness of this book, and I do think that this book did mostly succeed in that for me. I was also really interested in the main character and their struggle with finding their path and just finding joy. I also really like the adventurous nature of this, but I also do think that this is a story that I would really love to watch more than I like to read or just listen to this, just so that I could fully see the world and the aesthetic, because I don't think this book ever fully immersed me in it like I really wanted it to. Like, some of the vibes were there for sure, but it just could have been so much more, which makes me so sad because I know this one is pretty popular, like the reviews are really good, and I wanted to experience those feelings too, but I was unfortunately more bored with this than I wasn't, and I'm just kind of sad about it. Again, if this got a movie, I would 1000% watch it, but for now, I ended up giving the book 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lynn, and this follows our main character who is cursed with a serpent's face place after her father offers her as a sacrifice to the demon witch, making her the opposite of her beautiful sister, who is the only person who doesn't see her as a monster after this curse. And when her sister is going to be married off to the winner of a contest, our main character is the only person who is going to be able to defend her from the cruelest of suitors, but she ends up becoming his target in the process. This was my second finished read for the Asian Readathon. I read this for the prompt, read a book by an Asian author that is a fantasy and or a bestseller, and this was also my first finished read for my spring TBR, and I can't believe it took me this long to read this book, and I do regret not reading it sooner, because this was just as amazing as I always thought it would be. It is the prequel to Six Crimson Cranes and The Dragon's Promise, which are two of my favorite books ever, and also one of my favorite duologies ever, and this dove deeper into just an incredibly interesting character from that series, and of course it also has Elizabeth Lim's incredibly beautiful, immersive, and atmospheric writing style. It works so well as both an origin story and a prequel, and also just as its own book even without the other books from the series. And I will say, as much as I loved all of the adventure and the fantasy and the relationships, and I definitely did love those things, I felt like we could have really settled into some of the places that we went longer and just really developed some of the relationships more, especially the romance and just kind of that dynamic as a whole. Like, this book did feel a little bit too fast-paced at times, so I ended up giving her Radiant Curse 4.75 out of 5 stars. And next is another audiobook, and that is Mornings in Jenin by Susan Abulhawa. And this is a multi-generational story that follows a Palestinian family after they are displaced to live in canvas tents in the Jenin refugee camp in 1948. And we follow them as they live through half a century of violent history while they wait to return to their lost home. This was my final read for the Asian Readathon. I read it for the prompts, read a book by an Asian author that is emotional and or features older characters, and also read a book by an Asian author that is nonfiction and or political. This is a book that I've been wanting to listen to since I listened to Against the Loveless World by this author, and yeah, it was heartbreaking to say the least. There is so much devastation and violence that this family goes through, and it's also devastation and violence that is very much rooted in real world history here. And I also listened to this after listening to One Day Everyone Will Always Have Been Against It, so all the thoughts that I had in my head while listening to that book were definitely still there when I listened to this one. And that is especially the case because our main character says something along the lines of, surely somebody is going to step in and stop this. And this book is set in the past. Again, it's very much rooted in real life history, and it's still going on today. I also got really attached to the characters here as well. I really loved like the handful of moments of joy and beauty that they got in here. I will say there were a few moments in the middle where I did feel a little bit lost and a little bit confused, but I also think this might be one of those cases where if I didn't listen to it on audiobook, that wouldn't have happened, maybe. But overall, this book was just as good as I always thought that it would be after finishing Against the Loveless World, and I'm actually going to give it the same rating that I gave that book, which is 4.75 out of 5 stars. And now it is time for the manga series that I am currently caught up to and reading as they update over on the Shonen Jump and K-Manga app. Starting with Shonen Jump, we have chapter 126 of Kaiju number 8, chapters 33.1 and 34 of RuriDragon, chapters 195 to 197 of Blue Box, chapters 157 to 159 of Akane-banashi, chapters 78 to 80 of Kagurabachi, and chapters 33 to 35 of Ichi the Witch. And moving on to K-Manga, we have chapter 24 of Galaxias, chapters 133 to 135 of Gachiakuda, chapters 149 to 151 of The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, and chapters 178 and 179 of Windbreaker. And my favorite chapters from all of the series that I just listed were once again definitely from Gachiakuda, which makes that the second month in a row that they have been my favorite, and it is well earned. Second place would probably go to Ichi the Witch, by the way. But as for Gachiakuda, I am just super in love with these characters, and the group chemistry was so fun. I am loving the current arc, and I love seeing them just like get a little silly and reference other Kodansha series. It was super cute, and then they also went and introduced a character that I am really excited about, and I just love the design of this character as a whole. And there are just a lot of really exciting things happening with this series. It is so good. Okay, so that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!